Waheguru Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ki Fateh. My name is Guru Singh, and I'd like to introduce you to a shooting sport, which I have really enjoyed over the years. I got involved with shooting almost 45 years ago. When I was in the Boy Scouts, we shot 22 rifles, and I really enjoyed the comradeship and the competitive aspect of target shooting. So here about 6 months ago, I got involved again with shooting because I missed it so much, and able to join the Los Angeles Rifle and Revolver Club there, where I used to participate almost 40 years ago. So I was fortunate enough to make the California State Rifle Team again after 40 years. You can see I'm there on the left with the blue turban on there. This is the rest of the team. A lot of junior shooters there that weren't even born the last time that I participated in the sport. So here you can see here the results. These are the final results showing the California, what they call the postal team, because these scores are all sent in to the National Rifle Association, and then they're compared to all the scores from other states. Now, California has a really good team, so I've heard that most of the time California wins this postal match. You can see here I actually tied for last place. Anyway, so hope to do better in the future. But I think that I'm proving, considering that I haven't been shooting for the last, about at least the last 30 years. I did try out for the Olympics in 1984 after becoming a Sikh, but since then I haven't shot at all. So you can see here, this is an old patch that I dug up there from 1973. And this is some old awards schedules that this member of the LAR&R club there was so nice to dig these up and show me. I didn't even know they were in existence anymore. Anyway, so my name was Clark Harris back then, and this is the 1600 club they were giving me an award for. This is a perfect score for all day, and it's quite difficult to do. So I was there on that. And then these are some other matches that I placed high in when I was shooting back in the early 70s. So one of the things I'd like to do here is to introduce you to this shooting sport, like I said, show you my history in it, and then encourage anybody who'd like to join a Sikh shooting team that I've started to join. And like I said, I found it very fulfilling, this sport, and they have a great rifle club here in Yuba City as well, junior rifle club that operates from the high school here, and they shoot in national and state matches all the time. So any parents out there that like their kids to join a sport that is teaches comradeship and teamwork and concentration is another thing I think is really good about the sport, then I encourage you to write me an email or give me a call, and we can see about teaching your youngsters this sport. And even if you're an adult too, it's a great sport. It's has a lot of benefits, and very satisfying when you shoot well and you train at this and develop skills in the shooting. This is a 100-yard target here. This was one of the targets I shot at the recent rifle match. Again, you can see here when I was a junior shooter, I was pretty good. I had a national record for all-day score, and was right up there actually as a junior with all of the national and world-class shooters. This is the club there at Los Angeles, and you can see all of the young shooters here shooting. They have electronic targets there, which are very cool. They just spent about $50,000 fixing them up. You can see here all of the old trophies and targets from past years at this LA R&R club there. Those electronic targets I was telling you about, they don't use any paper at all. And I'm looking forward to shooting on them, actually. This I placed second in a recent match. There you can see my name. So every time I go out, I do a little better. These are some scores again from the 70s. These were team matches where this friend of mine, I placed first in the master class. Now this is some shooting that I did last weekend at this state championship, and this shows you live some of the action there. See, the targets are out there at 50 yards. You can actually see the white there and the black shows the shot going through. Again, I find this sport to be really satisfying. Creates a lot of good discipline, concentration. If you watch here for a minute, you'll get some idea about how this sport works and what is involved. I tend to shoot pretty fast. I learned from one of the best shooters, this Major Loans winner, who has many gold medals in the Olympics and international shooting, and he was always a fast shooter. The idea is that you want to get on target and be consistent every time you shoot. So in thousands of rounds of shooting, you want to be consistent about your shooting. You can see every time you load, squeeze off the trigger, aim, all this should be the same. There's a model airplane club next door, so that's why those little airplanes are flying around. They've been there for years. I remember them back in the 70s. It's a recreation area there, this Whittier Narrows there in South El Monte. So you can see here, it's a sport that doesn't involve it's not a contact sport. It involves a lot of concentration. You have to judge the wind. You have to judge and make sure that your shot is on target. Speaking about the wind, I tend to do what's called shading. And if the wind just changes maybe a little bit, I just shade over right or left, depending on how much the wind has changed. If it's changed too much, you want to just stop shooting. You can go back to your cider bowl and shoot a cider shot or two just to make sure that it's still on. Now, in international competition, you have to continue with your record shots. You can't go back to your cider bowl. So there are a few differences between the national or NRA competition and the international competition, with that they shoot in the Olympic Games. Anybody who's interested in the sport, I'd be happy to talk with you about it and to show you what's involved in it. There's a real camaraderie here among the team members and among the people who shoot. You travel around different matches all around the country. There's a big match in Camp Perry, Ohio. They have national shooting matches there. It's over about a 10-day period, 4 days of this prone shooting, and then they have another couple days of position shooting, where they shoot in sitting, kneeling, and standing positions. Now, the international shooting just involves, that's the type of shooting they shoot in the Olympics, just involves prone, which I'm doing here. This is the prone shooting, and then kneeling and standing. Now, the other difference is that I'm using a scope here. In the international shooting, they just use open sights or iron sights. So there's a lot to learn about it, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy the technical aspect of it too, and making sure you have the right rifle and ammunition and everything. This is the front side of the Los Angeles Rifle and Revolver Club, established back in 1906. The head of my military academy that I went to when I was in middle school, that was when I was about 11, 12 years old, he was actually a member of this club. Now you can see there, this is again the state rifle team results. I talked to one of his children, this colonel who was a member of this club back in the, it must have been back in the 40s and 50s that he was a member. And she said she still has the original rifle where her father took her out to this same range and was shooting. So there's a long tradition here, long tradition of fine shooting. Now you can see here in this picture I'm shooting with the, well, this last picture here I'll show you. These are the open sights, or what are commonly called the iron sights. And the other pictures were with the scope. This is what they use in the Olympics and in international shooting. And again, this is the scope here. Now you can see also here, I want to point out how all of these things on the rifle are adjustable. Like for your cheek, the butt rest here of the rifle, these are all adjustable, so everything fits just perfectly, so you're completely comfortable in your position. You don't have anything else to worry about besides just squeezing off the shot. And again, you want to make sure everything is just very, very consistent in all the shots that you're shooting. You want to have it exactly the same. Now this was a match that I shot in Modesto a couple months ago. It's a 1200 match, whereas the other matches, the other match I shot this last weekend was a 2-day match where they shot 160 shots every day. That was 160 shots for record. So there's a lot of shooting involved. It's a lot, very intense. If you shoot for 4 days, that's what the national match is a 4-day match. But again, it's very satisfying. It's a lesson and skill that you develop in learning this rifle shooting. And again, there's a lot of technical things involved too. You have to make sure that your rifle is cleaned. You have to make sure that everything is tight, sights, all of these things. There are all those kinds of things you have to make sure all of these different things are set. And when you're shooting, these are the sighter scope here on the side, so that you can see your what are called is a spotting scope. So again, I encourage anybody who's interested to send me an email, and be happy to talk to you about this sport or any other shooting sports. I visited Fort Benning, Georgia when I was a junior back in the 70s, and they introduced us to all of these competitive shooting sports like shotgun and pistol. There's another sport called running boar, which is a target where it simulates a wild boar running across the target. I don't know if they still have that in the Olympics or not, but they certainly have the pistol and the shotgun, all of these sports. So I know a little bit about all of these things. This is where I tried out for the Olympics in 1984. You can see here one of the targets that I shot when she set a national record as a junior. This was a poster that we made back there, and I was trying out for the Olympics in 1984. And again, this is the Yuba City junior shooting. It's a very good team. They have national records and national wins, and state. They win the state championship quite often, I believe, too. And that's right here in Yuba City. Again, thank you for your time, and I hope you write me and let me know about any interest you might have in this shooting sport. Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Ki Fateh.